Raging companions, what's up? It's Raging Iskander, and if you're wondering where's my manliness gone, well, just shut your ass up, dude. I'm already dealing with it myself. I'm looking like a JoJo character right now. But yeah, today we're gonna talk about an interesting topic, lap pillows. Yes, we're gonna actually talk about the good old lap pillows. You know what? There's no more explaining to be had. Let's just roll the intro and get on with it.
大変だったね。大変だった。
So, yeah, today we're talking about lap pillows, and somehow, trust me, we're gonna link that with Napoleon and especially with Alexander the Great. Again, you should have seen it coming, man. My channel's named fucking Raging Iskander. What did you expect? Okay, so why am I sitting here talking about lap pillows? I'm going to talk about 3-0 for a bit. Again, there's that one scene that really spoke to me, right? It's a really important scene in the work that is 3-0. It's the first scene I have in my intro. It's the little phrase you got in the beginning. In case you don't see what I mean, even though it's my fucking intro, here you are, here you go.
そんな。大変だったね。大変だった。すげえ辛かった。すげえ怖かった。めちゃくちゃ悲しかった。
That's what I'm talking about. It's basically a scene where the main character kind of ends up being broken because he took too much shit upon himself. He kept on dying and dying and dying, and he came back without ever telling anyone that he could come back because he couldn't tell anyone, and that's too much pressure for him. He broke and started crying on the lap of the girl he liked. Yeah, that's not very manly to do, you might think at first. But I think very differently, because I actually believe that everyone needs that kind of person, right? The person you can rely on, you can lean on their shoulder. That's the word I was looking for. Can lean on their shoulder, and they kind of help you relieve some of that pressure that comes with being active in general, trying to achieve something. You're not going to achieve something without pressure, without external pressure, internal pressure, and all the shit that happens in your head and happens in the world. It's going to wear you down, and basically, to kind of counter that, you need that person, that thing that's going to help you through this, the muse, right? The little thing that's going to whisper in your ear that everything's going to be all right. She's going to show you the way. So that's basically it. That's what the scene made me think about. And then I thought about a lot of things, mainly about Alexander and Nietzsche. Yes, I'm actually linking Nietzsche with lap pillows. But yeah, basically, Nietzsche is a big proponent for solitude. He's like, the further up you go, the more lonely you're gonna be, and you have to excuse me, you have to learn to be fine with it. To be fine with being alone and kind of having to bear everything on your shoulders and not be needing to talk about it or to need like support from anyone. That's what a strong man should be. That's the Übermensch, the Nietzschean Übermensch. And the interesting thing is that in Zarathustra, that's how he began. He began as a sage, right? An hermit. Hermit living on top of a mountain, living his life, having all the knowledge, the honey. He spoke about honey. It's all the knowledge, having wisdom, and basically it was overflowing, and so he needed to get down from his mountain and share it with everyone. He tried to share it with everyone, and it didn't work because most of the people didn't understand what he talked about. As a Zarathustra guy, they deemed him as crazy, as a madman, as a showman. So they kind of didn't care about him too much. At the end, Zarathustra, he kind of went on a quest looking for people to trust, right? Looking for a group of friends, basically. That's Nietzsche. That's Nietzsche telling you to have a group of friends that you can trust. So he gathered a group of people that are like, they're all weird. They all have their little quirks, and they embody a facet of humanity that's not flattering, right? But they are willing to get better, right? They listen to Zarathustra and they kind of get conscious, self-conscious about themselves, right? It's redundant. So they get self-conscious and they understand that they're not Übermensch. Übermensch. They're not Supermen, right? So they follow him back to his mountain and they basically live together as friends, and that's the end of the story. At the end there's a little something that I forgot. I think like his eagle flies away or something like that. But basically he brings a few friends with him in a cave, and they live together as students and a teacher. So even though Nietzsche tells you that you should thrive in loneliness and you should expect to be lonely, in his most... Zarathustra for me is his most revealing of books, because there's a reason for it. There's only so much you can tell about yourself and how you think using reality, right? Using essays, using something that's very grounded, even in theory. But when you go into the realm of fantasy, you can tell so much more. Of course, it's harder to understand because it's hidden under a layer of creation, of complete fantasy, of the creation of the mind, imagination. But once you scrape away that layer and you kind of understand the underlying messages and why he wrote that and in what state he must have been to write that, you kind of understand new things. And that's why I think Zarathustra is his most profound book and his most revealing of books, other than the fact that he basically has his most important ideas in there in Zarathustra, and his magnum opus, Beyond Good and Evil, is basically a dumbing down of Zarathustra. He felt the need to write Beyond Good and Evil because people didn't understand his Zarathustra, and so he wrote Beyond Good and Evil as being this very... it's not comprehensive because every time you read it you understand something else, but it's very dense, it's very in your face. You get this aphorisms, paragraphs, small text that talks about a subject, a title, explanation, title, explanation, and you get hit in the face with so many insights from this mad genius that lived as a hermit himself. So yeah, I still think Zarathustra is deeper than Beyond Good and Evil because of the fact that it's unfiltered, right? It's not needing an explanation. It's like I mean, it's close enough to a religious story, right? I think. So yeah, why am I talking about that? Because at the end of the day, he found himself not alone, that Zarathustra guy, the pathway to the Übermensch, found himself not alone. And then, yeah, he's got people to talk with, you know, to kind of share in and to share that burden with. Then you got Alexander the Great. Basically, he had a very close relationship with his mother. They were very close to maybe in a healthy extent. I think that's what I got from it. I'm not an expert on him. I've read like 2 books and watched a few hours of content about him. So I'm not an expert, far from it. But I think from what I've got, from what I've read, the relationship he had with his mother was quite unhealthy, and it's the same with the relationship he had with his father, to be honest. But the kind of dynamic he had going with his mother was kind of weird, meaning that she was kind of pouring her hopes and dreams into Alexander, and she made him kind of introduce himself to the esoteric world a bit early, and that's of course what made him Alexander. And the Alexander we know, of course, the Alexander that would look for omens before fighting, and that would be convinced by an eagle to charge at the enemy and win the actual fight. So that's the Alexander we know today, and without his mother he wouldn't be the same. Who knows? If he had a normal mother, what kind of boy, what kind of man he would have become. Certainly not the great, right? Something else. But at one point he understood that she was kind of devouring him. She was kind of trying to step into the political world and share in that power that he got, meaning that when he was in Babylon, ruling essentially his empire, like sharing the prizes and sharing his money and the spoils of war, he had got a few letters from his mother telling him to doubt his generals, telling him that he shouldn't trust them so much, that he shouldn't share the spoils of war with them that much, that he should be a lot more strict. And she even suggested that Alexander bring her to Babylon and she would help him rule. And we know what she had in mind, right? Probably she wanted power. That's what I got from it. I'm not sure Alexander's mother was purely benevolent. I'm pretty sure she wasn't. But yeah, Alexander didn't go with that, and basically told her to fuck off, and he stopped answering her questions, her letters. Of course, he still loved his mother unconditionally, and the kid loved his mother, okay? It wasn't a one-sided relationship. She loved him too much, and he probably loved her too much, and that's how it was. But he was reasonable enough to understand that it wouldn't be a good idea to bring her into Persepolis, Babylon. But to make my point, you have to understand that the relationship Alexander had with his mother was so important for him that one time I think he was laying with his wife. I don't remember which one. Maybe it's Roxana, I'm not sure. Don't quote me on that. But one of his wives. And at the end, he was like, yeah, I love you, but too bad you're not Olympias. Olympias was his mother. So if you think about your mother when you're with your wife, there's a problem, right? So I think, there was that kind of problem. So for Alexander, his mother was probably his muse. It's kind of weird to say, but she played that role, right? She's the one that told him that he was the descendant of Achilles, that he was to play the part of a god in this world, that he was blessed, that he was the son of Zeus, that he was a demigod himself, right? That's all his mother, not his father. So yeah, by the end of his reign, by the end of his life, he said a thing that's very interesting. He died slowly in his bed, and before saying like "give my empire to the strongest," which are allegedly his dying words from what I've read, he would have said something among the lines of, "I regret something is if I had to regret something is that I didn't go and see my mother again." So you understand that. And you have to understand that, but basically, even though he was surrounded by people he knew, Alexander grew more and more paranoid, and that's to be expected because, well, you're the king of the world, of the known world. The map he had at the time was basically his, and, well, who wouldn't want that power? And he was surrounded by military men and generals and people that greeded for power as well, and generally people that loved him, but he still doubted them because, well, that's how it was. And the fact that he drank a lot during that period didn't help, and yeah, he felt alone again. The only friend he had was Hephaestion, and that's basically the only person that knew about the letters Olympias sent him, because he used to read them in front of him. And then Hephaestion died, and a few days later Alexander died, and he talked about seeing his mother again. So yeah, the poor guy died feeling alone. His son dead, killed later on in Macedon, I think, if I remember correctly. He was killed alongside Olympias. And my boy Alexander regretted not seeing his mother again. So yeah, that made me think. That seriously made me think about the idea of the muse and the importance of having a lap pillow, boys. You gotta have a lap pillow at your disposal, right? Because too often you get into your own head, and you have such grandiose ideas, and you have things to accomplish, and so you tell yourself that no one would understand you, and that you cannot waste time talking to people and trying to make good friends and stuff. You just have to do what you need to do, and that's wrong. You don't have to do what you need to do. Make good friends along the way and have people that you can trust. I'd say solitude is great if you're two. That's my take on it. There was once a time where I had just started reading Nietzsche, where I was like, yeah, damn, I'm gonna go to the heights of the damn mountains, and I'm gonna be all alone, and it doesn't matter, because I'm gonna be an Übermensch, or at least something that will bring about the Übermensch. And that's incredibly stupid. Don't do that. Don't do that. You'll break. Most people at least would break. If men like Alexander, Zarathustra, broke. I mean, I'm pretty narcissistic, but I'm not narcissistic enough to say that I'm stronger than Alexander. I haven't owned the world yet. Maybe someday I'll say that I'm better than Alexander. Today is not that day. So yeah, to end that interesting topic about lap pillows. Basically, my thought on it is have people you trust. It's very cheesy, but you know, sometimes people forget that. Have trustworthy people around you, and yeah, from time to time, talk to them. Ask them about what they think. Of course, you don't need their approval, but it's good to know what they think. So you might change your plans if what you're thinking is stupid, because you're not omnipotent and omniscient, sadly. So yeah, have a lap pillow from time to time, sleep on that lap pillow from time to time. You can cry on that lap pillow, it's okay. Then you just wake up and take again your fucking axe and your spear, and you go on and you just destroy your knuckles on a wall and break the wall and go through life. You conquer life. Just, you know, from time to time, take a break. That's all I had to say for that little rant, that little subject. At this point, all of my videos are basically rants about random subjects, but hey, it's good enough. About the last video that I released, the one telling you to create something. I hope you've read my story and I hope you've liked it. It is a bit. I'm writing something else right now, something much bigger and much better. Comparing the two would be an insult to the one I'm writing right now, and that's probably what I'm gonna say what I'm gonna say about this one when I'm gonna be writing the next story. So yeah, I mean, sometimes I can be my worst critic, but yeah, I'm gonna keep you updated on that if I ever release it. And it's probably gonna be a bit longer than this one, so if I release it, it's not gonna be under one. It's probably gonna be like terms, like 1, 2, 3, maybe someday I'll have them on paperback. That's a video record for the Iskander of the future. If you ever forget to fucking write a book someday, well, look at you, you're on YouTube, shame on you, future Iskander. That's it for me. Remember, raging companions, with it or on it.